Good morning. Now we're getting into the third Perek. The third Perek highlights the three different beginning wars that the Bnei Israel go through in this up and down cycle. Number one is with Otniel ben Kenaz, with Kushan Rishatayim, the Melech of Aram Naharaim. The second is with Eglon Melech Moav, with Ehud ben Gera. And the third is not very clear, but Shamgar ben Anat, and there's only one pasuk on his victory of 600,000 people with the saddle of a donkey. So really, we're talking the beginning sequence of this back and forth where this negative idea that the Bnei Israel are going to go through this roller coaster of experience. Interestingly, just as an aside, out of the 369 years, only 110 of the years were bad. The rest of it was actually quite good. And so these three stories have in between. One has 40 years where the Bnei Israel, everything was quiet. One has 80 years. And it's seemingly, it's not all bad. But I think the bigger picture is that seemingly it's more than just not all bad. One would think that in life, it's just a roller coaster, it's chaos, there's just bad and ups and downs. But really this Perek highlights that there is so much that is non-chaotic. We ourselves make life chaotic. Hashem all the way. In so many interesting, even ironic turns in this Perek, we see that the Yad of Hashem, and if we would just look for it, you see it's really not chaotic. It's such a beautiful testament to Hashem's love for us. So starting with the first story, Kushan Rishatayim Melech Aram Naharaim. Kushan Rishatayim, who is this guy? And Aram Naharaim, what does that remind us of? Aram Naharaim, that reminds us of, well, the whole experience in the beginning of Bereshis, right? With Avram Avinu, right? Aram Naharaim, right? And Kushan, what's that word? Kush. Kush is black. Who is the opposite of black? Lavan, right? So Lavan, who tried very hard with all of his trickery. So Hashem is saying, so interestingly, Hashem is saying, all of the chaos, it's all full circle, and I am here behind the scenes just as I was with Avram. I will be here with you as well. Interestingly enough, if you do the math, so Kushan Rishatayim, who was really a terrible, Rishatayim comes from the word Rasha, double, that he was way worse than he had to be, because you might say, well, he was just doing his job. No. Hashem might want for the Bnei Israel to be subjugated, but not in treacherous, devious, horrible, underhanded, under the ground ways. That Hashem did not and would never say to a nation, sure, you have full reign to take it in that, but rather they are so terrible. Kushan Rishatayim, he's double as bad as what would be. But Hashem, if you just take, again, if you think about the gematria, so the mathematical equation, it was for 8 years, and then the land was fine for 40 years. So what is 8 over 40? That is, by my math standards, that's a fifth. What do we remember? Chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael mitzrayim. That Hashem, he saves us with a fifth, right? It's not a coincidence. And the number 40 is a number that we're used to. Moshe went up to Har Sinai for 40 days. The concept of 40 is a concept that represents change, successful change. And it is very clear that there is something that is being within the chaos. There's really there's a change there. There is not true chaos. It's really Hashem doing vayinasu, that the goyim are testing. A test is not chaotic. A test is to show what? It's to show us what we're up to. We're not up to the level that we think. We need to do better. But more importantly, It's also to say that there is a rhyme and a reason for everything, and it's not me that is torturing you, says Hashem, but I'm sending the other nations to do it, so it's going to be in a much more difficult way. We say that it's always better for Hashem to do the testing, because when you leave it in the hands of Kushan, it goes double as torturous. But that's the first part. Then comes the story with Eglon Melech Moav. We know again Ammon and Moab. We know these guys. These are not players that are not new to us. Hashem doesn't send anything new. He kind of represents. And who was it? It was Ehud ben Gera. Ishiter Yad Yamino. He's from the Shevet of Binyamin, and the whole idea of what's happening here is more reminiscent of Yaakov Avinu. He has, going down, and how does it represent Yaakov? Well, we know who is the one who switched his hands from the left to the right. That's Yaakov. We also know that the amount of time that Eglon Melech Moav was terrible was how many years? It was 18 years. So it's like 8 plus another 10, which is, the Shvatim minus the two Shvatim that we're going to talk about. And overall, it is a time of prosperity for the other nations, because Eglon was a really fat in his prosperity. He was and he took advantage of the fat of the land, right? So we know that was happening in Mitzrayim. But overall, the important message from Eglon is the famous that he stood up, Devar Hashem li'elecha. He stood up. This fat king gets up for the word of Hashem, in contrast to, it's not chaotic, guys. It's not. You just get up for the word of Hashem and everything happens good for you. And if he can do it, you can do it, right? Again, there's no chaos. There's a rhyme and a reason for everything that happens. And ultimately, just as an aside, this is where we learn to stand up for Kedusha and Kaddish and for all Divrei Mitzvah. We learn it from Eglon. Isn't that so interesting? Just in parentheses. And then ultimately, the Bnei Israel for 80 years, it's quiet. So they really do get the message. And it is something of a time, again, of quiet, until we have the Shamgar ben Anat, who we don't really know very much about. We have some hidden message, 600, right? Again, we know 600,000, came out of Mitzrayim. That's our number of Geula. And we also know Shamgar, who was it who wasn't allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael? That's Yitzchak. So now we have an Avram, we have a Yaakov, and we have a Yitzchak. And so really Hashem is saying that there are these ups and downs. There's always challenge to life, but ultimately there's a rhyme and a reason to all of it. If you look for the Yad Hashem, you will find it. If you look to the Avos, you will find the messages that you have to follow. And if you stand up for Dvar Hashem, and if you listen in the ways of Hashem, then you're going to have ultimate tranquility and prosperity for a stable amount of time. That's all Hashem wants from us.